random dad scaring the shit out of me at a summer party. So this happened many years ago when I was about 9 or 10. It scared my kid self shitless at that point. Our family was invited to a summer beginning barbecue party of some of the parents of my close friends. Everyone was having a great time. There were many other families and kids there, about 60 people I'd say. The family's backyard was pretty wide and directly attached to a forest-like bush part that you could enter in through their yard. It's right next to their yard, so you could still see all the people and hear chatter and music through the leaves and branches though. I linked up with some of the other kids there and we went playing in the woods. Hide and seek, I think. I don't remember though. With us was this annoying and whiny girl that started acting up continuously due to her getting found all the time, to the point where everybody was fed up with her. She had lost her shoe later on after tripping over a branch. I grabbed it and threw it over some branch, and all the kids started laughing. Pretty mean, I know, but we were all sassy little kids at one point. She left the brush crying and screaming without her shoe. Oh boy, I knew shit was going down because literally the whole neighborhood could hear her going absolutely mental. We went on playing until her dad entered the brush with a really serious and angry face. I didn't notice at first, but I saw the other kids looking behind me, making me turn around and meeting his face right in front of mine. "Everybody leave," he said in a monotone voice. His eyes were fixed on me. I knew he was not referring to me, so I stood my sassy 9-year-old ground, trying not to look bothered at all. "So you're the one who threw, I don't remember her name's shoe into the woods, huh?" And then I said, "Nope, don't know what you're talking about, sir." Not believing a single word I said, he answered, "You go and search for it. I'll be right behind you." I resigned and went to look for it. It was like 30 feet away in some muddy bush. I picked it up and was about to turn around when this motherfucker grabbed my hair, pulled it until I was in visible pain, and started squeaking and went right up to my face and said, "Do you know what happens to little kids that lie?" I was completely frozen in anxiety and just stuttered, Yes I do," in the hope he would just let me go, because I knew. Me not knowing what rhetorical questions were at the time, I couldn't help the situation. He continued to stare at me for about 5 to 10 seconds, let go, and left without another word. I ran out of the bush, tears on my face, not really crying, looking more angry than scared because of the helplessness I felt. My parents looked at me and asked what was going on. I ran past them, through the house, onto the road, and stood right next to our car with my arms crossed, indirectly demanding for us to leave. My parents and some of the other people caught up to me and asked what in the world was going on. I burst out and told them what happened. If I had to describe how pure hatred and anger looked on my parents' face, it was the look in my dad's face in that moment. Without a word, he rushed back as my mom and 2 other parents stayed with me, comforting me and calming me down. My dad came back, still with the furious look in his face, and started hugging me. My mom went back in, said goodbye to everyone, and we left. I didn't describe what the guy looked like, so I guess my dad just told the party host and asked if anyone had witnessed it. Thinking about it now, if I had told them what he looked like, and knowing my dad, may God have mercy on his soul. The guy was definitely a sociopath, doing that shit to a kid with many people around potentially witnessing it. So you psycho, let's never meet again. Note, sorry it's such a long post for that little of a punchline, but I wanted to describe the situation as authentic as possible, and I tend to become quite talkative during storytelling. Male, by the way, if that plays a role in any way. Stalked at a water park. It was only about 5 years ago. I was about 15 and on vacation with my parents and some of their friends. These friends of theirs also had a daughter who was 4 years younger than me. One day, we went to the water park nearby. Our parents thought I was responsible enough considering my age and asked me to look after our friend's daughter. Of course I agreed. So here we are running around the park, trying different slides and queuing for various attractions. One of them was really fun, so we usually queued for that one. That's when things got ugly. So we were just talking about random 15 and 11-year-old stuff when 2 men in their 50s started laughing at what we were saying. We hadn't even noticed they were behind us in the queue, so we turned to look at them and gave them a smile. Then we just returned to our conversations. Then I heard them clearly saying some ugly things louder than they needed to, so that we could hear them. They said things like, "Oh, those bikinis are really nice," and maybe we should ask them to come with us. For a moment with the corner of my eye, I saw one of them touching himself over his costume, and they were getting closer to our backs, too close. So I immediately saw a lot of red flags and just thought it was going to get worse and worse. My friend was clearly confused since she was also a little younger. Then one of the men tapped on my shoulder and asked me if we were alone. I immediately replied with, "No, my dad is here." So they scanned the area wondering if my dad was actually there, watching the whole thing. I saw the chance and immediately ran away, taking my friend by the hand and just going far away as possible from those guys. About 5 minutes passed. I was looking for my parents, but since I didn't have my phone with me, I couldn't find them. The place was very crowded, and it was also one of the biggest water parks in my region. We decided to go to another attraction and just ignore the whole thing. Well, what happened next left us speechless. While waiting for the attraction, the guys from before found us and said, "Why are you girls running? We just want to have some fun with you." And I managed to reply to them, "We don't want to, stay away," saying it louder so that other people in the line could hear me too. Some teenagers around my age then noticed something was off. Passerbys assumed that they were just our dads. The teenagers pretended to know us, saying, "Hey, where have you been? Do you want to go down the slide with us?" And I also went along with him, trying to get those guys away from us. They apparently gave up and left the line. I immediately thanked those guys and explained to them the whole thing, and they said that they would stick with us for the whole day in case those dudes were stalking us. At this point, the day is almost over, so we're heading to our changing rooms. Our newly made friends told us they would wait outside while we were changing. I was very grateful of their kindness because after that, we never saw those old men ever again. So I thought while I'm changing, I hear a man's voice coming from one of the stalls. It sounded like one of those men, one of the guys we met earlier. I'm thinking, this isn't even possible, I'm just imagining this. But then I see him getting out of the stall with a child, who I assume was his daughter since she kept calling him dad. He was helping her get changed. For a second then, our eyes met. He was very surprised since he hadn't noticed me, and he immediately dashed out of the changing room. I'm petrified and scared of going out. My friend finished changing, and then we all caught up with the other guys. We finally met our parents and said goodbye to our saviors. To this day, I think that if those boys hadn't helped us, we would have been constantly harassed and stalked by those dudes for the whole day, or maybe even worse. So to the two men who stalked me and my friend at the water park, let's not meet again. This is my story of dealing with a creeper at a party. In 2012, I was invited to go to a party with my two friends, who are sisters, to their 4th of July party. It was a lot of fun. There was eating, swimming, playing, and then there was fireworks. So the next year, which is when this took place, I went with them again. For some quick background on the creeper, he was 3 years older than me, and he's been arrested for sexual assault on a minor before I met him, and he was still under house arrest. It started when I was sitting in the kitchen alone. I was sitting by the snacks, a place where there were 5 chairs. I had my legs stretched out covering 3 of them. When he came over, we made eye contact, so I said hi, and he said hi back. He touched my legs like a pat, and I thought he meant for me to move my legs so he could sit. At that time, my gut was telling me to get off my lazy ass and go back outside because there were people there. I was too lazy though, and I just didn't move. I was on my iPod, just looking through Tumblr, when I heard him say something. The only word I caught from the whole thing was cute. I had to ask him 3 more times to hear it fully, which turned out to be him saying I was cute. I didn't know what to do, so I smiled and said thank you. He knew I was 16 because he had asked earlier, and I gave no thought to it. He asked if I had a boyfriend, and I didn't think and I said no. He kept saying how cute and good looking I was. I kept saying thanks. Finally, he got up and left. What I should have done was got up and go outside to where people were. I was just too lazy to get up and move. I also thought that was the end of it. Nope, he came back in a few minutes asking for my phone number. I got scared because he had his phone out, and I thought he was going to text or call me once I gave him my number. I also thought that if I said no, he would get me in trouble, so I gave it to him. The first text was at 8:09, saying, "Hey there beautiful," with a winking emoji. Pretty bad, I know. I answered because, again, I thought I would get into trouble if someone found out what was going on. After a few more texts like that creepy first one, he sent, "You want to go somewhere?" This is when I really freaked out and told one of the sisters what was going on. She freaked out too and told me to stay with her. I did, but that didn't help. He wouldn't take no for an answer, so I had to come up with excuses. He said for me to ditch hanging out with her. What got worse was whenever we were inside, he would rub up against me, motion for me to follow him, and make lips at me. Even in a crowded room, no one saw this. He even waited by the bathroom line because he saw me in it, and so when I got out, I saw him and I ran away. By the time fireworks were happening, he caught me alone in a room and started forcing himself on me. He started kissing me, and he started to touch me. I kept saying that I had to go, and when I tried to leave the room, the door wouldn't open. Even when I finally got it open, he wouldn't stop trying to get on me. The only thing that saved me was my friend calling my name, to which I was able to yell to her. I was able to call back to her. After that, he kept trying to get me to go with him. Anytime he got a chance to get close to me, he would say something. He even followed me to the car when I was leaving, which was when my friend started to yell at him. He continued to text me, saying how the next party, 3 days after that day, was gonna happen, and a bunch of other random bullshit. The next day, he even called me 3 times. Luckily for me, at the next party, people found out, so he wasn't allowed to go. I haven't heard from him since, most likely because his family made sure that my number was out of his phone, to which I'm forever grateful for. Sorry, I'm not good at writing nonfiction stuff, but thanks for reading.